Hi, everyone. I'm back in English 529. I'm happy to be here. This is the Fiction Fundamentals class, and this is the first generative writing workshop of the term. We'll probably try again. I'll definitely talk to you about whether you think the Saturday after Thanksgiving is a good time to hold one, because Sarah reminded me that's the next one I would be holding. So we'll see how everybody's feeling and if you're available or if you're off with family and if I should go, skew it by a week. And if that's the case, maybe I'll hold one this next Saturday, not hold Thanksgiving, and then hold it the week after, 2 weeks after Thanksgiving. So stay tuned for more information. So in Fiction Fundamentals, there's really 6 things that you're constantly being graded on. And what's great about those things you're being graded on are they are the fundamentals to writing a good short story or anything longer as well. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how module 2 is a focus on plot. And then we're going to talk about what plot can do for you. And then I'll talk about the graded elements, because those are great things to listen for when Sarah reads back what she gets this time. If more people come in the future, usually we have, anywhere from 4 to 8 people here, and they can read back what they get. So today won't go that long because there aren't very many of us. And so this module 2 focuses on plot. And you'll have read in your textbook that Ann Charter says plot is basically what pushes you through and keeps you reading and gets the momentum going. And then you see in the learning modules that they talk about how plot also reveals characteristics. But something I love that Ann Charter says is how plot pushes you along, but character is what stays with you after you've finished reading, whatever fiction, or this is true for nonfiction too. It's really the character that sticks with you. It's seldom that you're like, oh, what an amazing plot twist, more that you're interested in who went through the plot twist. And so I feel like all roads lead to having really strong characters, but you have to have all the other elements for it to work out as a good story. So in module 2, this is when you come up with your 3 different story ideas. And those 3 story ideas should be original. It shouldn't be something that you're writing on in, say, English 510 or English 520. If you had written on them in the past, I wouldn't know that if you didn't use them for SNHU. So there's nothing stopping you from doing that. But what's fun about coming up with new story ideas is this course is designed for you to write a short story across the 10 weeks that we're together in this class. And even better, I call it English 529 Fiction Fundamentals. It's all about revising. So we do a lot of revising in this class. And so you're going to come up with 3 different story ideas. And what'll happen is that you will offer a little summary of what the entire story would be, including spoilers. So if you're writing something now, you have to imagine what that would be. It can change. If you summarize and then he dies at the end, and later you're working on this in the course and you're like, I don't want him to die at the end, you can change that. It's not like a contract with us, but you do need to have an entire summary, including the spoilers, to let us know whether or not we think, because we're going to come back and say, oh, I really hope you work on like number 2, and this is why. But we need to know everything that happens in the story in order to give you that advice as readers. And then you're going to write one small scene from it, typically just, I believe it's the opening scene. And the opening scene is what makes sense, because then we can talk about your book, we can talk about your characterization, we get the opportunity to give you a sense of what we're perceiving about your story. And it's the beginning of a story that keeps us reading. So that's probably what you want to work on. So that's what we're doing in module 2. And there's also a discussion board for module 2. So there's 2 assignments next week. Now the graded elements, they're a little different for module 2 because the course designers must have needed to figure out how do we grade 3 different story ideas. But what you'll be working on for all of your creative work from that point forward grades you on 6 things. And they are narrative arc, narrative point of view, character development, setting description, setting sensory detail, and rhetorical devices. So to go back into those really quick, narrative arc is that, Freytag's pyramid. I don't actually know how to pronounce it. Freytag pyramid, if you want to look it up on Google. I believe I put it already in the course. It's, you have a inciting incident, rising action, a climax, and the denouement or resolution that comes on the end of it. So that's your narrative arc. Narrative point of view is literally, are you writing in the first person using pronouns like I or we? Are you writing in the rare second person? I've had one student successfully do this so far, where you're writing with the pronoun you. Or are you using some form of third person? Most people will write in a limited third person point of view. So you're close in just in one character's point of view and you only have access to their thoughts. More difficult in a short story would be an omniscient point of view, because it's very difficult to avoid head hopping between characters because you have access to all their thoughts. It's a pretty sophisticated thing to do. So some people will write in an omniscient narrator, but again, this is a short story and it's tough to do. Then character development. That's all about what are the little things that are going to help us understand what your character's like. And today's writing prompts, I'm hoping, will help push some of your character development. Setting description, excuse me, would be things like, what does the world physically look like around your character? Or what time period is it set in? What is the cultural context? Are they in rural America? Are they on a mountaintop in Iceland? Just said a mountain in Iceland. Give me a better, in Austria. So, physically, where are they? Here's media. And then finally, two more, the setting sensory detail. That's how you get your reader set into the scene with your characters. So use all of the senses, sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. And as humans, we tend to really easily get what people see and get what people hear, but we tend to abuse, especially smell and taste, but also even touch. And those three are the ones that can really ground readers in your story. And then finally, I'll talk about rhetorical devices, and then I'll say hi to Adia. Rhetorical devices, especially figurative language, that's my very favorite. Those are the ways that you make your story a little more relatable. So you, the example I always use, and Sarah will smile, but if you say something is as soft as your childhood teddy bear, that's a simile, and a simile is a subset of a metaphor. And so metaphors and similes make that comparison so that you know what a childhood teddy bear is like. Your reader knows what a childhood teddy bear is like. So now you're in sort of the same grounding. And there's an extra layer of meaning when you're talking about a childhood teddy bear, or in Sarah's case, right? The doll that you carried through your time, your Cassie carried through her time. The item has more emotional weight than just how soft it is. And that's when you really have a magical metaphor or simile, is when you have something that can have even more meaning than just, the fact that it's as soft as something. It also is something that brings you comfort, something that's been with you through your whole life, something that's grounding that character. And we learn something about them from it. So those are the things that you're being graded on most of the way through this course, but you're being graded on them because they're just the most important elements of fiction that you need to have right when you're writing fiction. So it's a fundamentals class, and these are the fundamentals that we'll be working on through this time. Okay, so welcome to, how do I say your name? And I muted you, so I'll ask you to unmute.
Hello?
Hi, how do I
Hi.
pronounce your name?
It's Dia.
Dia?
Adia, yes.
Adia. I've been calling you Adia.
There we go. It's look, as long as they spell it right on my paycheck, I'm not too picky about how it's pronounced.
That's great. Well, welcome. You missed the very beginning where I talked about the module, but I am recording, and I want to tell you that so that you know that you're being recorded.
Oh no, I heard it, so I was like, it's okay.
Okay. And then I am recording, so you can go back to the YouTube channel later and catch the beginning if you want to hear the part where I talked about the class. Okay, so those are the things that I want to talk about coming up into module 2. And the next part of this is how this goes every time. I'll talk about the upcoming module. And then today I was just going to have us jump straight into some writing. what happens now is that I'll talk to you a bit and try to get your brain ready. And I'll talk to you this first time about the best way to do it. Maybe the second time, because not a lot of people are here. But then I'll give you a prompt. I'll time you for 6 minutes. And then you get to read back what you came up with after the 6 minutes. I see Sarah smiling because she knows this works great, doesn't it, Sarah?
It is awesome.
So Sarah's an alumni from a previous class of mine, and now she's in the MFA program. I think this term you're off, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but she's doing the MFA instead of the MA. And I put the articles about the differences up in the general questions discussion board if you want to learn more about why you might choose one program over the other, because they're both creative writing. So one of the things that I recommend when we do these generative writing workshops, if you can, is to try to handwrite if you're doing your writing. And the reason is that handwriting actually engages both hemispheres of your brain, and it changes what creatively comes out of you. Now, I'll be the first person to admit I do a lot of my writing on the computer. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying that for these kind of burst pressure writing moments, that it seems to engage your brain differently to do it by hand. If you don't want to, that's fine, especially if you think you can't read your handwriting. But I do want to pass on that advice that handwriting changes the way that you engage material, for sure. So the prompts I've got for today are trying to push you towards character. Even though module 2 is really about plot, it's hard to put together a whole plot thing for a 6-minute writing prompt. And in the end, it really is about character. And so I really want to push you to think about your characters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you a bit about this prompt. I'm also going to copy it right now and put it in the chat so you can read it along with me. And Sarah, at some point, you're going to have seen all these, so just enjoy them over again. So I want you to think about a time when your character, or if you are writing nonfiction, which this English 529 is a fiction class. So if you're writing nonfiction, you're going to have to fictionalize it. But if you want to practice writing scenes for something that would be nonfiction, we can talk about techniques to do that, because I write both myself. So think about a time when your character inadvertently uncovered something, good or bad, that they weren't meant to know. Maybe they overheard a conversation about them or about someone close to them. Maybe they found their partner's diary and read it. Had an internet search where something surprised them, an observation, something was discovered. So think about, a story idea that you have in mind. I just served on a jury for 2 weeks, and I'm really thinking about trying to write the novel about these events, but make it better, because they did not tie together all the threads in the narrative of all the arguments. They would have a point. I was like, if this was Law and Order, that bruise would have come up again. So anyway, think about a story or a narrative that you're writing. And so you're going to write about this discovery and the character's response to the discovery. So, if they overheard a conversation, if they walk in and confront the people, or if they open the diary and learn something, did they confront their partner? On the internet search, what did they do with what they found? Whatever you end up choosing, and it can be any mode of discovery. It doesn't have to be the ones I listed here. What did they do with it? Did they confront? Did they carry it and let it fester? Did they pretend like they never even learned it and just let it be water off a duck's back? And this is going to reveal to you a lot about what your character is like. Okay, so do you have any questions for me?
No, this is like a first time writing prompt for me. So I'm just like, oh, well, I mean, I got the pen and paper because I knew there was going to be some writing involved, but I'm like probably the only writer that has like nothing on hand, like for anything.
No.
Like everything is just coming from pure scratch.
I arrived at the Bennington writing seminars with no writing behind me. And all these people are like, I'm just going to pull out this old novel I wrote. It's like, no, I'm going from scratch. So I really do know how you feel. And one of the things I do want to advise you on when we're doing this one, so your brain is going to be like, nope. There's 2 different techniques. The first one is you can try to start with a question. start with your character making an action, or it's camera action. I'm missing one. Sarah, do you remember my third one?
Write down, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know.
That's the second technique. Yes.
Oh, I couldn't hear that.
So,
Okay.
so either like grab a character out of your head, you know, named Julie or whatever, and have her do an action like Julie didn't know when she opened the door that she would, the words she would overhear would change her life or something like that, right? That's an action. Oh, that's what camera is. You can make a statement. So I did an action and a statement together in that one. But also she can ask a question. Did she know that her mother and her husband were so close to each other or whatever? So you can ask a question, you can make a statement, or you can have your character do an action. And then if you're still stuck, what Sarah said, that's my second piece of advice, bore your brain. Just start writing, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. And by about the second or third time you write that sentence out, your brain will be like, fine, I'll give you something, you know? So go ahead and bore your brain if you don't have anything to work.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna set the clock now and just see what happens with your creativity. Again, it's a character who discovers something good or bad that they were or weren't supposed to know. Good luck on your marks. It's set. Right. You have about a minute left. Okay, go ahead and start wrapping things up. Your time is up, and I can't wait to hear what you found inside those creative brains of yours. Tristan, if you ended up using the computer, you are more than welcome to cut and paste something into the chat if you want, and I can read it out for you. It's up to you. Adia disappeared. And I've muted all of you so that your scratchings would not bother each other while you were writing. So if you want to unmute, you are welcome to do that. Hi, Adia. I muted you because I muted everybody. Because when people are writing, I always mute so that it's quiet for everybody. Well, Tristan, pen and paper was the right idea as far as, you probably got more creativity out of it. I was just offering to Tristan, who's feeling unwell, that I could have read out their work for him. If they did it on the computer, they could cut and paste it in the chat. They said, nope, I did it by hand, which is exactly what I said to do. So that's good. Okay, so now this is the part where we read back what you got. If you want, I will throw Sarah under the bus so that you don't have to be first. But if you want to go, Adia, that's fine. Keep in mind, Sarah's been participating in these for how long now, Sarah? Like at least 6-8 months. Yeah, so this is old hat for her, and you all are under tough circumstances. So, don't worry if she got more writing done than you did, because she's been doing this for a long time. Do you want to read what you got, Sarah?
What? What was the
What
last thing you said?
I said, do you want to read what you got, Sarah?
Oh, like I have a choice now. No, I'm just
You
kidding.
don't have a choice, actually.
Yeah,
You're still muted, so if you're talking to us, then I didn't hear it.
I'm not
There we
muted.
go.
Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. 16-year-old Cassie heard voices at the top of the stairs. As she stepped up the first, she heard her name. Afraid to interrupt, she sat down quietly. You better not grow up to be like her, Valerie told her 10-year-old birth child. Cassie's face grew warm as she got up from the unfinished wooden step. I don't know what I did wrong, as tears formed and slid down her cheeks. It was one thing being a foster kid in a house where there were also birth kids, the odd one out, who didn't really matter. It was even worse during the holidays. It was still cool outside, the dew still clinging to the grass. How did I screw up already today? What's wrong with me?
Wow. Two strong pieces of characterization that I pulled from that were how Cassie felt like the odd one out who didn't really matter, and then asked, what's wrong with me? And it was such a reminder. So Adia, Cassie is a long-term character of Sarah's, but you heard in what she read that she was in the foster system. And so we know, we get to make all those extra assumptions. That's what we do as readers, is we bring what we know of a setting. And in this case, it's a foster home setting with birth kids in it. We can take all of our assumptions, and Sarah gets to play on them to help us see Cassie as a specific character. And I don't know with Adia, and Tristan, you can type in the chat, but I'll bet you all, I felt anyway, I bet Cassie didn't do anything wrong that day, that it was like a general thing that the the foster mom was saying. And even then, I was already railing. I just felt like it was so unfair because, you know, Cassie's had some really tough circumstances. And so I'm mad. But do you have any thoughts about what you heard? And you're muted again. I think you were, yeah, thanks.
Sorry, no, I had my daughter running around.
Yeah.
No, I was just, I guess, I- my I guess I'm trying. My focus has been on I'm on the envious side of what she wrote because I'm like kind of trying to compare what I wrote and compared to what she wrote. It's like she did the best. Like she did a better good 6 minutes than what I did with mine, and it's not bad. It's just like I'm trying not to be intimidated, but
Yeah.
I am. But it's good. It's like okay, well, like I like I don't mind being envious of someone else's work because that's going to motivate me to do better
Yeah.
with my on the next go around. So
Sarah, do you mind me saying, or do you want to say, like, where were you when you started doing this?
When I first did the prompts, I think I got like 6 or 7 sentences down because I was like feeling the time pressure and I couldn't think of the context. And
yeah.
plus, like when we just find out what the prompt is, like a minute and a half before we have to start writing and come up with everything about it. Um, I hear a lot of people, and I do this sometimes too, but like apologize for what they've written and then they read it and you're like, oh my God, that was amazing. Like, how did you? So you'll get used to it.
Yeah.
It is weird at first. And then like if you go from I do the poetry version of these kind of speed writings, and it's really weird to go from like writing story like just writing a poem like really fast. So it's just a matter of what you get used to. But it's fun. This like wakes up things that you don't necessarily think of. So
Right.
And I think the best thing that comes from doing these isn't what you got down right now, although the pressure of reading them in front of us is good for you because if you're going to be a writer at some point, you have to read your writing. But what happens is you'll walk away from here and go, that might be an idea I can use for one of my 3 story ideas for English 529. Or with Sarah, I'm fascinated, and I was going to speak a little bit about the graded elements to remind us of what we're paying attention to. But I was fascinated that you talked about the morning dew on the grass. I was like, okay, what is that telling us about that moment? Like that will help Sarah break open a scene. Was it because she wanted to talk about it being a certain time of year, a certain time of day? What does the dew on the grass matter? And it's all a point of like something will merge out of your head. And was it important? Maybe it isn't like earth shattering, but the dew was an interesting detail that I know that Sarah was thinking in the back of her head, oh, I need a sensory detail in here. And so she pulled in the dew. But then you have to ask your brain, okay, so why did we pull in dew? If I thought I've got 2 minutes left and I need a sensory detail, why did my brain choose that? And so you get to kind of analyze yourself at the end of these things. And maybe what you get in your writing that you read to us isn't what you're going to use. It may be just something that launches you into what you will use. I mean, it's useful no matter what. So narrative arc is the first graded element that SNHU course designers for English 529 grade you on. There isn't a ton of narrative arc in a 6-minute writing typically, unless you end up with a piece of flash fiction. And in this case, you started us, and we understand a huge context, but we don't know yet what will come of what Cassie overheard and whether it'll change her relationship in that house or if she's going to give up trying hard to be good because she was being good and look what happened. So, we don't know where that's going. The narrative point of view is a limited third person because it's Cassie and she, and we only have access to her interior thoughts. The character development is nice because if it's the beginning of something, we definitely know a lot about Cassie stepping in. She cares about if she's good. She's in the foster system and she feels worthless, but we already are on her side because we know if she cares about being good, she probably is not worthless. So we learn a lot about her. The do gave us a physical description of where they were and also the wooden stair. So it wasn't a carpeted staircase. And Cassie, I thought, was stepping up it, but then she was sitting up, I think. So there was a bit of a thing to pay attention to there. But I wonder, was the wood smooth under her foot, or was it rough because it was dirty? Or there's some more things you could even do with those little sensory details you gave us. And then I totally was not paying attention to whether you had rhetorical devices or not. That's my bad. Did you have any?
I couldn't hear that last part. What?
Did you have any rhetorical devices in there that I missed?
No, but one thing I did purposely, when I don't know what I did wrong, I didn't say she thought, or I didn't have a dialogue tag.
You didn't add a dialogue tag, which is great. Your option would be to put it in italics to show us that it's thought, or we would even know that because the only way that first person pronoun could show up is because we're observing it third person limited is through her thoughts. So yeah, nice. So idea, that's a lot. But hey, this was your first time, and if you wrote anything already, bravo. I mean, if you were able to be put under pressure and you wrote something, it's a good start already. Are you willing to share what you got?
Yeah, that was what I was trying to say. Is like, because you asked me if I wanted to go first or second. I said, well, it's going to be the same result whether I go first or second. So it didn't matter. Like it's going to be the same amount of words and the same amount of paper. It's going to be the same. Like nothing's going to change regardless of if I went first, second, or 15th. So, okay, let me excuse me, I have a cold, so we're going to try to not cough through this. Okay. So, but you can't hear me, okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Oh my Jesus. All right. Maggie had seen the name before. She was going to the grocery store in the morning. Oh, okay. When she was going to the grocery store in the morning, the bartista that worked at the coffee shop while she ordered her coffee black with 2 tablespoons of sugar. Today she was stuck on seeing the name Lincoln. A Lincoln Navigator pulled up next to her on the way home from the coffee shop. She walked inside and saw a penny head side up on the kitchen table. She thought about going upstairs to the closet and pulled out an old diary that she had when she was a teenager. She turned to the middle of the book and read the sentence about the old Lincoln Continental store she used to go to with her best friend Sarah. Suddenly, she saw an alert on the computer. It was an email addressed to her boyfriend, Mike. She was drawn to open it from the sender, Michael H. Lincoln. And that was all I wrote.
Wow.
Nice.
So,
Wow, right, Sarah?
Yeah, I was typing notes as I was reading, or listening.
Yeah. So I don't know how you came up with the thread of a Lincoln all the way through that in 6 minutes. I'm so impressed. And
it was just I tried to, usually if I'm writing something, I have a bad habit of trying to edit while I'm writing.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, okay, look, this is a writing prompt. We don't know. The point is to get something out. So if it's spelled wrong, if it's just make sure you can read it first off, like it's legible, but don't worry about it. Like, it's just like, cause just don't worry about the grammar. Like you're not trying to turn and submit like a perfect piece of story now. You're just trying to get it out in the open now. So that's what drew me. And so I said, okay, while you're thinking about, okay, the prompt, okay, the first thing that popped in my head was Maggie. Okay, fine. So why Maggie? And so then the thing with the Lincoln just popped up. So I said, okay, let's do some correlations here. And so it's just like Lincoln Carr and I didn't say it, but I meant to put down the barista, his name was Lincoln. So it's just little small association like that. And so towards the end, I'm like, oh crap, well, I didn't write down what she was supposed to discover. So, because the point was to, have her uncover something. And so I was so going through, I'm like, okay, well, I know I'm focused on trying to lead in with the opener. So I can either stop what I'm doing or just keep going with it. And then whatever I have on paper is whatever I have on paper at that point. So
No, it was fantastic. And I forgot to mention that the point isn't necessarily what she found. The point is that you wrote something.
yeah.
So as I say to everybody, if a lot of people end up going off prompt, and I'm like, great, whatever, as long as you wrote, as long as something came out. And it was very imaginative. And the thread with the link in made me feel as if everything was stated, as if it was almost like a premonition that by the time she sees that email pop up for her boyfriend, you know, I don't know, it's going to be awful what she finds in there. It's not going to be good. And it's because all these Lincolns have been showing up to highlight for her. When she sees it pop up, she has to open it because she's like, it's a Lincoln. The universe has been telling me something's coming from a Lincoln that I have to find out. Right. So I thought that was great. Do you have other thoughts beyond time movement and rot listener, Sarah?
Yeah, I thought that coming up with a thread in 6 minutes and using it more than twice is amazing. And kind of what Dr. Max was talking about before, the cool thing about this isn't a complete anything. You get to take this and later run with it.
Yeah.
And one of her more evil prompts is she'll make it a little bit more exciting on the first prompt, and then the second one you take a sentence from the first one and turn it into something different. And so like with this, you could take like the Lincoln thread and make it into something completely different, or you could build on it, or you could make it sinister, or you could make it funny or whatever. Like you just take a sentence from that you like a lot that you wrote here and make it into a completely different project. And it's crazy how things turn out. Like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and in the week she's talking about, we do I call it an impromptu writing prompt I learned from a friend. And I just take a book and open it up. And as you're writing, I'm going to throw words at you and you have to add that word into what you're writing. It's hilarious and great. And people get some really interesting things out of it because your brain is trying to keep it a narrative that makes sense. And, you know, I'll throw in the word, you know, I don't know. I don't even
Metamorphosis.
Yeah. I did that to you guys one time.
You have to like build that into your story when you're talking about kids on a playground.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's that one will be a lot of fun. And then when you get done with that one, you pick one sentence you like out of it and then you use that for your next prompt. And that's one of my favorite times coming in. We have Randall joining us. I'm so out of touch because of this jury duty. I don't even know if this is Randall from alumni or Randall from class now. I think he's from class. But anyway, that was such a great start. Interesting. If you have any thoughts or want to just add anything, just pop it in the chat. We'd love to hear it. And for Adia, really quick. So in narrative arc, you had taken us in the beginning. So we had a long, cool, inciting incident about the meaningfulness of Lincoln showing up in Maggie's life, right? So we're still kind of moving through that inciting incident, and we can tell that we're accelerating towards either a second inciting incident or a climax, depending on what you want to do with that email, or you can do all new things like Sarah said. The point of view is limited third person because you stayed close to Maggie and we just had access to her point of view and her thoughts. Character development, cool little things like the details on the coffee. We know how she takes her coffee. We know she's the kind of person who goes to a barista to get her coffee. And so we have just little details. She has to go upstairs, so she's in a house. We know little things about her. You can give us even more. You know, what does she look like? Does she get her nails done? You know, like just what kind of person is she, right? The setting, you moved us through a lot of places, and the setting just wasn't important because this was about the universe doing something to Maggie. And you'll settle us into a setting when we start finding out what's happening. A little short on sensory detail, but that's very normal for this point in the process. You know, Sarah now consciously says, oh, I better throw in a sensory detail before my 6 minutes is up because she's been doing this for a long time. But keep thinking about especially smell, taste, and touch. Those are the ones that we use the least when we're writing. Sight and sound comes really instinctively to most of us because those are our primary senses, as we move through the world typically. And then finally, rhetorical devices, if you have a chance to compare things to other things. My favorite rhetorical devices. There's others like irony, foreshadowing, and there's all kinds of rhetorical devices, but I love anytime people get into metaphor or simile. So those are great. I want to pause really quick between writing prompts to say, hi, Randall. Randall, you are muted, but do you want to say hi back or do you want to introduce yourself? I forgot to introduce everybody. I didn't think I haven't been doing this for forever. Hey, Randall. I can tell you're unmuted, but we still don't have any sound from you. Oh, your microphone doesn't love you this morning. I'm so sorry. You're currently in English 529, right? You can just put that in the chat. Good. Okay. I had a Randall in 529, not this last term, but the term before. And obviously, because I have the Slack channel, some people still show up from previous classes. So I wanted to make sure you had that one. So we started at 9, which is like 45 minutes ago. You're always welcome to come in the middle like this, but the part you missed, you're welcome to watch in the recording when I put it up on the YouTube channel, and I'll send that out on email and put it on the Slack site for people to go to after this. Okay, so then the next part, and again, Randall, if your microphone's not loving you this morning, you probably won't be able to read back what you write. Briefly, I'll talk about the advice for writing again. What'll happen is I'm going to throw another prompt at you all. And in fact, I'm going to throw it in here so you have time to think about it for those people who don't need this advice on how to write again. The thing that I want to say is that if you write by hand, you often are more creative because it engages both hemispheres of your brain. But you're also welcome to type if that's what you do. I do a lot of my writing typing just because it's fast. Also, if you get stuck, there's a couple of things to think about. You can have your character start with some kind of action, like physically walking through a door or something. You can ask a question, Maggie didn't know why the universe kept throwing the word Lincoln at her. That would be a boring way probably to start with a dear road, but that would be a question that would get you going. Or you can have a statement. So that wasn't a question, was it? That was a statement I made about Maggie not knowing why the universe was throwing things at her. Or she could say, Maggie asked, why is the universe throwing the word Lincoln at me? Right? So you can do that. Or if you're really stuck, just start writing the sentence over and over again. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. If you bore your brain enough, it will say, fine, here's something for you to write. So those are ways to get into this writing as I pressure you into a 6-minute writing prompt. This is the second prompt. And I want you to write about a lie your character told. Everybody lies. Was it a good lie or a bad lie? How did they feel when they told it? And how do they feel now? So it could be a lie they told when they were 8 years old. It could be a lie they told, if they went to college. It could be a lie that they told this morning. But how do they feel about it right now as you're writing it? And was there a reason to lie? And was that reason good? So definitely something to think about. I'm going to set the timer. I'm going to make sure everybody's muted, and on your marks, get set, right. You have under a minute left. Okay, go ahead and wrap things up, please. I wrote with you guys. I don't know if it's me not meeting all the things I told you to do anyway, so.
Am I coming through now?
You are, but you're very soft.
Okay. I think that's probably.
You just broke up. Keep working on your microphone. Yeah, we understand technology, right? But keep working on it and we'll see who wants to go first. If you all jump up and down and raise your hands at the same time, I can't decide between you.
I don't mind going real quick.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sarah.
As Cassie gripped the icy handle on the front door, her whole body froze as she realized what she had just done. Not knowing how else to get home, she'd ridden with a friend of a friend. This home's rule was no riding in cars with teenage drivers. Where have you been? School ended 2 hours ago. Darcy turned to look at Cassie as she walked into the entrance. Rachel's mom drove us home after she picked everyone up. She almost choked out the words. She almost choked as the words came unwittingly to not get in trouble. Having just been a passenger in a car driving over 100 miles per hour down the highway, she understood the rule. But remembering the threat of picking herself up off the floor for even talking about breaking a rule previously, she pursed her lips.
Oh. So, good lie or bad lie?
Out of character. I'll state it that way.
Because Cassie, yeah, that's probably the title of it, the little section. Because Cassie's not a liar and she's not the kind of person. So she didn't answer the question about where she'd been. And I loved that gaping, as a reader, I'm still going, hold on. She didn't ask you if Rachel's mom brought you home. She wanted to know where you'd been. So even that left, it's as I was reminded of in jury duty these last 2 weeks, it's very tension building to create a question for readers and then not answer it. And that one really, because focusing on the lie has been great. And it does give us a wonderful characterization of Cassie, who's like, okay, unwittingly, I'm going to tell a lie, but I don't want to get knocked to the ground by Darcy or these new foster parents for riding with a teenage driver. So which of the two evils is going to be worse? I might get away with this one, right? So I see Cassie as a scrappy survivor, for sure.
Sorry, what was the last thing that you said?
Oh, I see her as a scrappy survivor, for sure. My sound isn't great, is it, today?
Sometimes it's good and other times you get quiet.
I don't enunciate. Adia, do you have anything to add about what you heard from Sarah? And Tristan and Randall, you're welcome to put comments in the chat too if you're having trouble talking out loud.
I thought it was a necessary lie. And that may sound weird, but it's just like it was a, I don't want to have anything bad happen. So it was it was a lie she had to tell. It was like, like you said, she was picking which one was lesser evil. So it wasn't so much, I wouldn't say a good lie or a bad lie, but you know, in order for me to, not get in trouble or keep what I have or not have anything bad happen, this is something, I guess necessary lie or survival lie, whatever you want to call it, but it was something she felt she had to do. So like if I don't do this, then A, B, C, D is gonna happen. So to prevent all that from happening, this one thing isn't gonna it's not gonna hurt anybody. So that's what I took from it.
So Adia, for you, going through this experience of hearing, reading about Cassie, what does that do to your relationship as a reader to this character? How do you feel about Cassie now?
I mean, I sympathized from her from the beginning, so it wasn't like oh, I hated Cassie in the first prompt, and then like now it's just it made I guess for me, I would say Cassie could do no wrong, meaning like okay, let's say Cassie like killed someone in the next prompt. I'm thinking, okay, well, what did they do to deserve it? Like, because it's like I guess for me, it's like whatever Cassie does, it serves a purpose, and because of what she went through, it's like I said, she could rob a bank, kill someone, and drug someone and hit someone with the car, and I'm automatically thinking, what did they do? Like for her to get to that point, what did someone else do? And the thing is, even if it was her fault, I probably would still find like some type of, well, Cassie might have been having a bad day, or like maybe she woke up on the wrong. Like I would find some type of I would give her some type of leeway, even if it was like legit someone. It could have been like a Mother Teresa character that came up and Cassie's like, I'm gonna go ahead and punch him. I'm thinking, well, did Mother Teresa wear the wrong outfit? Like it's just I'm sympathizing with cat like I'm trying to see. So for me, like I said, it's just with Cassie, it's just for me, I can feel like she does no wrong. And if she does do wrong, it's justifiable. Like regardless of who's at fault, she's still justified on what she does because of
Yeah.
what she went through. So
Yeah, and so that's exactly what I was hoping you'd say, is that you're sympathizing with her. So we already have this interior glimpse of Cassie, and we believe that she is basically good on the inside. From the two prompts, we already feel this about her, and you're sympathetic with her is exactly what you're saying. And Tristan says, I'm very invested in why Cassie is lying. Where was she? What did she do? Yeah, so that's a big question, because we already are like, I'll bet you that she was like helping somebody with homework or doing something really, okay. And then the kind of cool thing is you also show Cassie learning her lesson about why she shouldn't be in a car with teenagers, and she probably won't ever get in a car with a teenager again, because we're witnessing Cassie like learning life lessons. Randall says, I wouldn't say good or bad as much as real. And I agree. This is very real. And this is a great example of a character navigating life as best as possible. And it makes her more believable, which is exactly true. She's facing all of these problems, right? What do you think, Sarah? What do you feel about this feedback?
I appreciate it. This scenario, that lie was something Cassie kept for a long time. And what I tried to convey, like, it wasn't until she gripped the handle that she realized that she had just messed up. I don't know if I conveyed that, but that's what I was trying to. And then she realized, crap.
Oh, so she
But
got in the car and didn't even think about it then.
no, it wasn't until
Interesting.
she was going in the house.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, you could play that up a little more. You could work on that a little. I forgot to talk about the rules of workshops, that which Sarah has been doing so wonderfully. I should have mentioned this, especially when people get their microphones working in future shops. So she reads without making excuses. So you're not allowed to say, oh, this is no good or whatever. We get to be the judge of that. And then during the part where we talk back to her about what we notice and what's great, she just takes it in. And then if we ask her what she thinks, she speaks up. But like this strange rule of workshops is you don't like jump in and explain or anything. So we're doing great on this so far. I just forgot that I hadn't set this ground rule on the first of the workshops. So we're doing it right. Let's keep doing it right. Okay, so for Tristan and Randall, if you wrote by hand, there's no way you can throw it into the chat. So, and I think you're both still unable to talk, but Adia can talk. So do you want to read what you got?
Okay. Same length. All right. Okay, I want to make sure I'm not on mute. All right. Maggie sat on the bed and couldn't believe what happened. She responded to the sender Michael H. Lincoln and agreed to meet with him at the Convoy restaurant, but as her boyfriend. Michael expected to meet her boyfriend, not a woman. How would she dress? What made her agree to meet with Michael? She can't change her gender in 5 hours. She can't be her boyfriend's long lost twin, but Maggie needs to know what her boyfriend Mike was hiding from her. So she felt justified. He didn't mention going away for a month-long trip. He didn't mention if she was going to go with him or if she was going to stay home. Mike didn't mention the $5,000 missing earlier today that Maggie had to find out during an email. So yes, her agreeing to meet Michael, her lie was needed. She had to figure out something and figure it out soon.
Now that sounds like an exciting plot. Yes, yay for continuation and showing inner turmoil. I'm a little confused. Michael is the emailer, and who is the boyfriend?
Mike.
Oh, so
I don't know why the name, I don't know why the name Mike and Michael stuck in my head. It just stuck in my head. So I'm like, I'm just go with it.
Yeah. So if you were going to be revising it, I would recommend making the names a little more different so it's easier to follow. It's the same thing when you have two characters of the same gender. Sometimes we're like, which he are you talking about, right?
Mhm.
So Michael and Mike, I wasn't sure who. I get the impression that her boyfriend is going away for a month. She doesn't know if she's going with him, and some money has disappeared. Is that true in her life? And now she thinks it's related to this Michael, who might be his twin brother.
No, she no, I said she couldn't because she's agreeing to meet Michael, the email sender, at the restaurant. And so, but she agreed saying, okay, but she's responded under her boyfriend's name, Mike. So
And she's gonna try to look like a guy when she shows up.
She has no idea what she's going to do because in impulse, she was like trying to figure out, okay, she's getting all this information from an email. And she's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and meet. I'm going to go ahead and see him. And then she realizes, okay, I just agreed to meet, my boyfriend's associate, but he's expecting to meet the boyfriend, not her. So she's trying to figure out why on earth would I agree to this? Why, like, she's realizing the aftermath of, okay,
Yeah.
why would you say, yes, you're going to go? So it's like, she can't change. She can't turn into a guy in 5 hours. She
Yeah.
can't look like Michael, like her boyfriend, Mike, in 5 hours. So it's just, she's just trying to figure out how, like, what am I going to do? Like, I didn't have to answer the email, but I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
And so, but
She lied.
she was like, yeah.
Big lie. So one of the things that I would encourage you to start adding in, and this won't be instinctive yet, but it's going to come, is like, how did she feel about it? Was her heart racing? Were her hands sweating? Did she feel cold all over? Like, so give us some sensory detail, like what happened when she hit enter on the lie, or or press send, or whatever it is that got the email going, and give us a little context. I'm trying to somehow put her in a computer at a desk in a bedroom upstairs, and I don't know why. So help, now that you've got a chance to go back and work on it some, help us know where she is and what the settings like. Because even what time of year it is might be an important detail. I don't know. Sarah, do you have something to add?
What I like about it so far is it feels like snippets of a movie to me.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely a complex plot going on and beginning, and there's still so many ways that it can play out. So I hope that you keep writing that story because I think you could have something really good.
Yeah. And I hope that you will give us a little more about Maggie so that we feel the same. Maybe she has to kill Michael when she shows up at the restaurant, but I want to believe in her. Or she can be an anti-hero, you know, and then I want to be like cautiously mistrusting like her, you know. Does she show up and we're like, well, maybe she's up to no good. You know, we don't know yet. But make us feel what you want us to feel about her, even if you're going to shift that and surprise us and hurt our feelings because we liked somebody who turned out being evil. Whatever happens with her would be great. And if Tristan and Randall have anything to add to that, you can throw in the chat, please. Definitely. Oh, there you are. Good.
Is my audio working now?
It is. Do you want to read what you got?
Absolutely. I was hoping that would work. I'm having fits over here, so.
Great. Sorry about the fits.
Oh, no worries. All right. Theor's lie was more than a lie. It had become a mask, something that he wore every day. He longed to pull at the join between his skin and the suffocating cover, to breathe fresh air and tell the world the truth. But there were words he could never say. How could he exclaim his pain, that his wife would no longer share his bed? The church would ostracize her. The order's women would hate her more than they already did. Theor couldn't see how adding to her pain would accomplish anything. Is everything okay, brother? Theor turned to look at his friend and ripped at the fusion of flesh and falsehood for another long moment. Yes, I'm fine.
Oh, the lie is the very last thing. Wow. Okay. So first, Sarah and Adia, do you have some thoughts?
You said almost at the end, fusion of what?
It was, I'm looking for it. Hold on. My writing is terrible.
Is the
I said
fusion of flesh and something, right?
the fusion of flesh and falsehood.
Yeah.
That's
Nice
awesome.
alliteration. Yeah.
And good use of metaphor on the mask. And even though the rest of it didn't mention the mask, it still seemed like it was present.
Yep.
As you were thinking, having the character think through the ramifications or what have you. So that's cool.
Do you have anything you want to add, Adia?
Okay, I'm trying to think. Did you say what happened? Because I'm trying to figure out, like, if you didn't, that's good. Because I'm like, wait a minute, what did she do? Like, what do you mean they can't share a bed together? Like, it's like I'm thinking of it as a soap opera in my head. Because I'm just like, okay, so
Ultimately,
trying to get this word
I'll
out.
get
Okay,
into
so
it in this passage.
no,
Essentially, though, the idea is their child together died. They had one child, and the child died in a very bad way. And because of that, it's kind of driven a wedge between them and their marriage.
and you mentioned the child, like, where did
No,
was that mentioned?
No, I
Okay,
didn't mention
that's
that
what
at
it
all.
was.
no,
Yeah,
he
well,
had two awesome lies going on. He was kind of lying to the reader through omission for a little bit. And then the big lie was, yeah, I'm fine, right? But
yeah.
we're going, what are you not fine about, right? It built all that tension because of that hole again, the thing that was missing that, you know, like Cassie, we didn't know what she had gone off and done, right?
Well, that's what I was trying to figure out. I'm like, what did the wife do? Like, did she cheat? Did he cheat? Like, what was going on? Like, that was a big thing. I said, okay, well, and I mean, I was sad to see it end because I wanted to figure out what was going on because it was okay. The church is going to judge. It's like, well, you know, how, like, why would they judge? How would they judge? And like a sense of tension between, you know, him and his wife. It's just trying to figure out what had like, why was there tension? What was going on? Why was he lying? That's what was drew me in from. And like, like was mentioned before, the mask metaphor was, was like the perfect icing on the cake. And it just kept like it just kept going and going, connecting from there on in. And that was, I can say it just drew me in. Like I said,
Yeah.
it was just in my head based off of what was written. There was like 4 or 5 different things going on of what could actually happen. And so it was like, okay, you like, I'm guessing. And so I'm waiting to see if I'm right or if I'm way off, if I'm close or something as to what was going on. Cause it was like, who, like, cause again, off the bat, I'm thinking, okay, she cheated or he cheated in a small church, small community, and everyone knows everyone. So if anyone did anything, everyone knows about it. It didn't even dawn on me to think about, the the kid passing away. But, again, that wasn't mentioned, but it just made me curious as to, it kept my attention trying to figure out what was the reason for all this from the first place. So I'd say great job on that.
Yeah, so definitely a good hook. And so I
Yeah.
will repeat again, just because both Adia and Randall weren't on. Before module 2, when you do the 3 story ideas, if you were doing this one, Randall, you would give us what you wrote, but your summary would tell us the whole narrative arc. It would be, these 2 people are no longer connected and are going to become ostracized from their community if people find out how horribly their child died. But you would give us the actual narrative arc, like you don't have to use the words, but like, what's the inciting incident, what's the climax, and what happens. So it's important as you do your 3 summaries, those summaries have the spoilers in them. And then we, your peers, and then when I do the grading, because I'm not in the peer review part of it, but your peers in module 3 will say, oh, I hope you write on say number 2. And then when I do the grading, I'll be like, oh, I hope you write on, or I'll say that I don't have a preference because they all sound good or whatever. So just be sure that when if you use stuff from today, you have to, you don't, and it's not a contract. So if you decide, oh, and then the wife's going to die too, or something awful like that, and then you decide later that she doesn't die, that's fine. But when you start the class, you have to give us the complete story, where you think it's going to go. And then if it changes, it changes. That happens all the time. But the biggest problem people have in module 2 is they either don't give the entire summary of the story, or they don't give just one good short paragraph. That's the creative writing. They do too much writing, or they will just, people like to write back book cover copy to intrigue people to read. And I'm like, no, you have to tell us what happened. You have 75% of it. We need the other 25%. So just be sure you remember to do that.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense.
Yeah, great. Okay. I don't need to read what I wrote to you all. It's not very good. So and I don't usually write, but I'm really thinking about this novel that's starting to emerge from having been on this trial. Oh, Tristan wants to hear it. Oh. Okay, but it's whatever. I'm not allowed to make excuses. Am I?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was about to say.
Bella told this lie so many times. Gina wanted to work on her lines for the school play. This is horrible right there. Bella told this lie about working with Gina on lines for the school play so many times. Her mom loved that Bella was even in the play, so she didn't get the mom questions going. After all, she wasn't originally Bella's mom, just took her in and then for real adopted her when Bella's own mom's golden halo of hair fell out in chunks, signaling the beginning of an end. So she said she was rehearsing lines. Gina was the friend who came to the bowling alley just 3 weeks ago and celebrated Bella's 15th birthday. Even now, Bella had the plastic ring on a string around her neck, a memory of all their hysterical laughter as they tried to snatch up the fake jewelry in the claw game. She felt the unfinished edges and hoped Gina would forgive being used as a way to get out with Jaden. Maybe tonight he would see her as more than a friend. Yeah, that was my favorite line that came out too. Sarah wrote in the chat, signaling the beginning of an end.
I want you to just keep reading.
That's it. That's all there is. On this jury duty, the thing that was so heartbreaking. So we live in a county that is bigger than three different states at like one at a time. But this county is bigger than Rhode Island, bigger than Delaware, and bigger than, would that be Maine then? Something like that. Oh no, Connecticut. And the kid that got killed in the vehicular homicide lived a half a mile down the road from me. And I didn't know her because we just moved here, but the whole thing just has felt really personal. And so this is me making up a backstory on how this girl ended up in this truck that ended up flipping and landing on her and killing her. So that's the start. None of that happened except for she'd only been 15 for 23 days when this happened to her. It was really sad.
Wow.
Yeah. So my heart's in a hard place because of this jury duty. It was rough. Any other thoughts from people? Anything I could do other than work on my confusing pronouns? Because I have 3 women in this.
Did you
I
put
got
in your
nothing.
announcement to not put attachments in the discussion, to put copy and paste?
I probably did not do that. I should probably put a reminder. Please don't put attachments on. I have the hardest time looking at attachments. So please cut and paste your content into the discussion board. You can do attachments in Brightspace because they open in Brightspace for me. But in the discussion board, it's a hot mess for me for some reason. So it's better if you just cut and paste it. Plus, I don't know if you've ever listened to that NPR show that talked about friction, but if somebody has to take an extra step, they're less likely to read your work. If they can open a discussion board and your work is right there, they'll read it. If they have to then go ahead and open up a Word document, it'll be rough. And then it's the same thing for grading. So that when we get to where we're looking at people's work, I prefer that, I mean, you're welcome to put comments on a Word document, on their Word document for them, but I prefer you do your graded work in the actual space that I can see easily, because if you try to get me to grade your comments on a Word document, it is a convoluted process for me to get that document open. And when I'm working with like 40 students, if I have to go through that convoluted process for all 40 of you, I might not have any hero left by the end of it. And I always tell people, at least when I went to school, I was like, I want to keep my instructor happy so that they're in a good mood when they grade my work. So please try to make things easy on me too, so I can be as thorough as I can be with you all. And one of the things that I do, unless there's, you know, an accommodation reason not to, is I will give you oral feedback for all the creative writing work. And the reason I do that is I end up talking for usually about 5 to 8 minutes on it, and I have your document open with me and I'm scrolling through it and talking, and you'll get much more thorough feedback than if I have to type it all. But if that doesn't work for you, let me know and I will type your feedback, and I will not leave you hanging with that.
I think the tool you use gives the option of transcript, doesn't it?
Yeah, yes, there is a way to then take the recording that I put up there, and you can open up, if you use the Microsoft Word that SNHU provides you, or you have that is the web version, not just the Word app, but Word opening it up through like the OneDrive online option, you can take a recording and drop it in there and it will transcribe it for you. So if you're having trouble, well, that's what I do. If you're having trouble with it, I open up a document like that and drop in the transcription and find out how many ums I actually use. And then I send that to you and apologize for how my spoken word is less grammatical than my writing, for sure. Okay, do you have any questions or thoughts as we wrap up this week's session? This is usually about how long we try to go. We try not to go longer than 10:30 my time.
No, that's it.
You're good?
Mm-hmm.
Tristan, Randall, either of you have any thoughts? I'm disappointed you didn't criticize my work. I expect you to criticize if I ever read again, but I don't normally read because we normally have more people than this. So,
Hey, you just told me.
It's more give feedback than criticize.
oh, right, constructive criticism. That's what all these courses are about, right? And I talk about it in the announcements, but it stings to get feedback, but it doesn't sting anymore for me because I'm used to it and I love getting feedback. Somebody always has something that helps make something better. So I want to encourage you to take the feedback you get from your peers and from me as it's intended, which is just how can you make this great stuff you're doing even better? That's all we're up to. Thanks for the reminder, Sarah. Okay, well, it's been so great getting to know you all a little bit. Randall, I'm glad you got your microphone working. Tristan, I hope we get to see you or at least hear from you if you're able to come next time. I'm still playing around with how we need to do, because 2 weeks from now would be the Saturday after Thanksgiving. If you all are in the throes of family and this wouldn't work, let me know, and I might shift up how I do it. I'm going to be home because, we have lots of animals and don't go any places. We're just driving to my mom's and back on Thanksgiving Day. So just drop me an email and let me know if that works for you. If it doesn't, I'll maybe think about trying to run one next weekend or 3 weeks from now. Just let me know your thoughts.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for showing up, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you in Bright Space.
See you in bright space.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.